Hey, this is Kristen Baker, the Arts and Humanities Specialist for the YMCA of the USA. I am here with Jessica Leccia, one of the stars of Guiding Light. And Jessica, just give us a kind of overall background of your career up until now, your acting career.
It's been pretty typical New York girl, waitress, just kind of running around doing whatever you possibly can, auditioning for everything that you can audition for in every genre, lots of TV, things like that. So, most of the things that I'd done previously were guest spots on TV shows, whatever we were fortunate enough to have in New York, taping in New York. Things like that. I was a theater major in college. And then you kind of just go out and do whatever you possibly can.
Pound the pavement.
And then I got lucky and got like a real job, like a grown-up job.
Very good. And how did you kind of first discover that you really wanted to be an actress and you knew, like, this is what I'm going to pursue?
You always know when you're young, is what I hear. And it was the same for me, except that I was a very, very shy, quiet kid. So I didn't think it was even possible for me because, I just assumed as a kid that if you were outgoing and if you were, outwardly talented, then that's what you did. But for me, it was kind of like a secret thing that I really wanted to do. So most of the time I said I want to be an obstetrician. But then you have this secret thing in you that's like kind of like, or an actress. But you don't really say that. Yeah. That's just the kind of kid I was.
And so how old were you when you first said it, like kind of out loud to someone else?
I was in college.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you go, but you went to college for theater?
I went to college for theater. It was sort of like, maybe I'll just go in undeclared and see how it goes. But my intention was really just to go in for theater.
And did you do any acting in high school or?
Sure, I did whatever straight plays they had in high school because I was deathly afraid of auditioning for anything that I had to sing for. It was just, those little hang-ups you have.
Yeah.
So the musicals were out of the question, and all the big productions were musicals, so I was always like, then you take speech and drama class, and then you kind of, get to do your productions with your classes and stuff like that. But it was always sort of like, is this really practical? I was a practical thinker. Yeah. But it's, it was always kind of there.
Yeah. And what adults kind of were in your life and like childhood or even college who kind of like once you got into acting a little bit really sort of kind of said, I think you really don't say obstetrician anymore. Like who were those adults?
Well, mostly it was, my parents who, if I told them that I wanted to be an actress when I was 5, would have been like, great,
Yeah.
Because that's how they've always been. And they're very expressive people. And I don't know if maybe it's a cultural thing being Puerto Rican. There's always music in the house. There's always some kind of dancing, whether you're cooking dinner and dancing at the same time, or it's just that kind of expressive thing that they appreciate. So if I had been a more expressive child, they would have probably pruned me from there.
Yeah.
But it's my parents and the people in my community, and eventually when I got to high school, it was sort of like I said, I took a speech drama class, take that a couple of semesters, and then you get the teacher that kind of encourages you and kind of sees that in you and realizes it's not really that much of a secret anymore that you might want to go into it. Yeah. Sort of like you're good at that.
Yeah.
I think give you a little nudge and that helps too. And then really when I was in college, it was sort of like you just immerse yourself. And then you have your peers that you do these plays with, and it's a little community, but it's enough to give you a little.
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
Feasible. Bloomsburg University in Pennsylvania.
Okay. I'm not super familiar with that, but just
it's
curious.
A state school in Pennsylvania, and that was another thing. It was sort of like go to a state school and not pay tuition because I was able to get a scholarship.
Well done.
But or try to go to whatever school and then fail miserably at it and then, you know, cost your parents a fortune.
You really do think, like, you are very practical. Yeah, very
really
practical.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. I mean, like, clearly that has helped your, you know, working
Yeah,
actress.
well, you know, it was just, it's different for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And now you were sort of grew up in the New York City area as a child. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that had any influence over you wanting to be an actress, just being surrounded by all the...
Oh, I think so. Like I was saying, you know, culturally, I mean, this is where I came from. Yeah. And, you know, I'd always wanted to go back to the city. Mm-hmm. And part of that meant, you know, because that's where the plays were, and that's where the actors were, and that's where all the excitement was, and that's what I grew up with. Yeah. So that's what I identified with. Yeah.
And then the final question is, like, what message would you give to YMCA staff who work with kids in the arts and kind of helping them find their spark?
I think that anyone that's going to work with children, you know, they probably have their own way of seeing. For a kid like me, it was sort of just out of nowhere, I wanted to put on a play. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd be reading in a corner for 6 hours, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, I have an idea, you want to do a play? And then, you know, and that's something that you look for, mm-hmm. because there's just something in there that, and then there's, you know, there's the kids that are just so, and I hope this one's one of them, just so really expressive. Mm-hmm. So there's the, you know, the two extremes, mm-hmm. but there's so much in there. Yeah. I mean, I personally would, if it were me, would be looking for the quiet ones. Yes.
Oh, that's good. Look for the quiet ones.
Because a lot of times the kids that are really animated about doing stuff are that way with a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. It's usually sometimes the quiet kids that are just kind of waiting to be prodded along.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure.